from the 704 once again for episode 143 of the 815 Exchange. Well. You know, I mean, it's truly remarkable what playoff time brings. I mean, it is truly remarkable. I mean, anything and everything can happen. Anything and everything can happen. I mean, 50-point games from arguably the greatest point guard to ever live. You've got, you know, greatest teams of all time faltering in the playoffs, as is tradition. I mean, just anything. Anything can happen. And everything did happen last week. So, plenty to talk about once again. The Royals are they're not serious people in succession. And of course we got the NFL draft, and of course we got plenty to talk about really in combat sports and the Roundup. But we will all recap that throughout this episode. As always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. And as always, if there is anything you're looking for in the description, whether it's my social media links, whether it's timestamps, all of that can be found in the description. Everything you're looking for can be found there. And yeah, simply put, where should I start? I thought about starting with the NHL, honestly, but we'll go NFL draft. We'll cram the NHL in after this, but NFL draft time. One of the headliners. Really could have been the main event this week, but we got the NBA playoffs going on. So, I digress. Nonetheless, NFL draft. There was a ridiculous Will Levis rumor that came out like a week before this. You know, had me sweating just a tad. You know, not that I'm a true Panthers fan, but I do live here, so it's like, you know, don't want to see them screw this up. For the sake of the city and my also future potential job prospectus in the very near future, do not want to see them screw this up. Okay? Do not pick Will Levis. And you know what? Will Levis dropped. He dropped out of the top 3. He dropped out of the top 5. He dropped out of the top 10. He dropped all the way out of the first round. And honestly went for decent value eventually to Tennessee. So, you know what? No complaints there. Solid pick for them ultimately. But Bryce Young does end up going number 1 to the Carolina Panthers. It was the right choice. And then, you know what? The Texans went and made the right choice too. In fact, they made 2 of the right choices. All right? And it looked like they were going to steal the draft, honestly. After the first 3 picks, it looked like the Texans were going to steal the draft. The second pick, they didn't overthink it. They went. They took CJ. Then they traded back up on some Madden-type stuff and got the 3rd pick. Drafted Will Anderson. Okay, you might have got the best quarterback and you got the best defender, arguably. Just like that. Changed your franchise. And with that, we thought, oh, maybe, just that. That's what they needed. That's gonna steal the draft. How can you get possibly better than getting C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson back to back? Well, apparently, if you're Howie Roseman of the Philadelphia Eagles, you just need to draft every Georgia player or trade or sign for every Georgia Bulldog possible, and you will win the draft, because that is exactly what the Eagles did, okay? In one draft day, or one draft weekend, excuse me, they somehow got Jalen Carter to fall for them. They draft him. Nolan Smith, I guess people are still scared about his knee injury, the ACL injury. He falls to them. The Lions, for some reason, pick Jahmyr Gibbs, which, nothing against Jahmyr. I think Jahmyr's a tremendous player. All right, I think he's basically like AK-41 light. But did they really need him? Haven't already got Monty and you had Swift. But anyways, they trade him for like a 4th and a 7th, basically nothing. Swift is now an Eagle, replaces Miles Sanders. Then they went and drafted Keely Ringo, who fell way down. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. did a number on his draft stock. They just got everybody from Georgia. They already have N'Kobe Dean. They have Jordan Davis. I'm surprised they didn't go out and get Kirby Smart at this point, because it was getting ridiculous. All right, the Eagles won this draft. It is disparaging as a Cowboys fan to have to say that, but Howie Roseman had a masterclass. One of the most well-oiled, and that's not even the other picks we talked about. We just talked about the Georgia guys. They bodied this draft. A tremendous job from the Philadelphia Eagles. As much as I hate to say it, they won the draft. Other quarterback shuffle. AR-15, or just AR, excuse me. Going to the Colts. Going to sit behind Minshew, it appears. I don't know if that's going to make it throughout the season, honestly. But that's how they got it set up for now. We will see what happens. Either way, I think if they're taking a quarterback, that's pretty fair. He's got the highest upside of the guys that were left. And if you want to take that chance and, he potentially becomes that superstar that he could become, I'm not going to fault y'all. But once again, you got to sit him. You got to sit him. You got to let him learn. You got to let him develop. So, we'll see what happens for AR in Indy. I mean, worst case scenario, you just draft Caleb Williams next year. Hook ends up going to Detroit. So shout out to the 336 legend, family friend of the show. Hendon Hooker gets it done. Wish he could have got a little bit earlier, but you know what? I get it. The age thing, the injury, it is what it is. Happy to see him in Detroit. He'll be behind Jared Goff, who had a very good season as well for the Lions. But, I know a lot of people are like, how can he be a development quarterback? He's only like 3 years younger than Goff. But we've seen how this goes. I don't know. This is not new. We've seen quarterbacks take 2 quarterbacks in the same draft as a precaution. So the Lions had no good backup, and we'll do a good job there. And he can still develop at 25. I mean, I really don't think it's a big deal. I think it's a good pick for them. So yeah, shout out to Detroit. They got it done. Boy, oh boy, did the top level receivers in this class go to some great places. Jason went to Seattle, which is ridiculous because now they have DK, Tyler Lockett, and JSN. I mean, Gino just has a whole armory of weapons at this point to play with. So yeah, JSN goes from one absolutely loaded, disgusting wide receiver corps to another. So great pick for them. Jordan Addison is going to be paired up with Jettis, filling in for Adam Thielen. That is going to be disgusting for Kirk Cousins. He's just got to make sure he gets it to him. But my gosh, the douche man, Jettis, disgusting. Probably one of my favorite receiving corps in the league after that. And then Zay Flowers, which is the perfect pick for the Baltimore Ravens, is going there. Teams over OBJ, Cole, Mark Andrews. Another really, really good pick. The wide receivers went where they were supposed to go, honestly. Went a little bit lower than I think a lot of people were expecting, but you know what? The top level receivers in this class went to really good locations and were really, really smart picks by, the teams that drafted them. So, fair play. The receiving corps got well adjusted in this draft. Grant DeBall, I got to give a shout out to the 704 boys. Grant DeBall drafted 7th round to the Packers. So, yeah, shout out to Grant. Aaron Rodgers, by the way, is a Jet. Okay? Trade officially happened, finally. I don't even know what was in the hall. I just know Aaron Rodgers is a Jet now. It's about time. He's following that Brett Favre career path. So we will see what happens. If that can take the Jets to the next level that we were like, man, if they only had a better quarterback, at times last year. So we're going to see. We're going to see. They got a good team on paper. They should be, big time contenders, really not just in the AFC East, but in the AFC. So we are going to see. We are going to see, but A-Rod headed to the Jets. He's been everywhere in New York over the past week, so we will see what happens. But yes, that was the 2023 NFL Draft. Of course, there was plenty more that we didn't talk about, but not too happy with the Cowboys draft, honestly. Though I'm a little bit more optimistic, I'm going to give everybody a chance, but yeah. Luke, can let me know how you felt about your team's draft. NHL. I have to take an unofficial water break, unofficial water sponsor, Deer Park. Because, how I was talking about in the intro, I said anything and everything can happen. Anything and everything can happen, right? That was the NHL Playoffs, okay? Thank God I personally decided against doing predictions this year for the NHL Playoffs because, my God, I would have had to burn the bracket in the first week. In the first week, it was like March Madness, okay? Except it was in April, okay? The NHL Playoffs got out of hand. But let's start from the top, and let's start with the home team, the boys in Raleigh. Carolina Hurricanes get rid of New York Islanders in 6. Paul Stastny gets it done in OT. Sebastian Aho had 4 points in this series. Islanders fought well. You know what? I will give credit where credit is due. Islanders fought well, but you know what? The Hurricanes were just a little bit better. We had control of the series. We let them get one back in Game 5. Could have closed it out before then. But you know what? It was fine. And honestly, we were up 3-1. The Bruins were up 3-1. I think we talked about this almost last week, right? We were like, okay, it's gonna, Hurricanes, Bruins, business as usual. I think I said that in the Roundup, right? We will get to the Bruins. Boy, oh boy, will we get to the Bruins. Before we get to them, we'll get some of these other games. Dallas takes out Minnesota 4-1 in Game 6 as well. Ottinger shutdown. All right, it was a shutdown. The Stars defense was sublime against the Wild, who couldn't really get any type of offensive production. Shut out Kirill Kaprizov. Did a really good job. Heinz and J-Rob both had 5 points in this series. Jason Robertson, I mean, what a revelation he's been this year. What a revelation for the Stars he's been this year. He helps charge this team. They're going to the next round. Toronto, for the first time since I was born, okay? It's been that long, 19 years, all right? Almost. A couple years off. The Toronto Maple Leafs, the boys from the 6, are headed to the second round. I can't believe it, all right? And they took out the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have been arguably the team of this era, okay? They have been the team. Like, if you got like a power rankings of the last 5 years in the NHL, Tampa Bay Lightning will probably sit at number 1. And you know what? The Leafs managed to pull it off in another overtime. This is a recurring theme, all right? There's going to be a recurring theme when I'm recapping this NHL first round. It's upsets and OT winners, okay? So, yes, OT winner Johnny T. Franchise. Tavares against the OT winner. Austin Matthews and Riley both had 5 points throughout this series, so, you know, they were kind of charging the Leafs. But, yeah, huge win, history-making win, and the upset against a team that you probably weren't expecting to beat. So, yeah, took out Vasilevsky, Kuch, they took out the Lightning. Congratulations to Leafs fans. Shout out to Superb, man. I need to check his reaction because I know he was going crazy. But, yeah, just, you know, congrats. They needed it. The New York Rangers take out the New Jersey Devils, in the battle of that New Jersey, New York area. Chris Kreider, what a series for him. He had 1 goal and 2 assists, I believe, in Game 6. Also for Kreider, he became the all-time leading goal scorer, fun fact, in New York Rangers history in the playoffs. So, yeah, all the great players that have come through for the Rangers, but it's Kreider. Kreider is the all-time leading goal scorer. Shout out to CK. Adam Fox, one of the best defensemen in the world. 8 points. 8 points in the series. Yeah, he was big time. Rangers get it done. They take out the Hughes Bros and the Devils. They move on. Edmonton, you know what? I called them, you know, it seemed like they really started turning around for the Oilers around the time that I was like, they are the Los Angeles Angels of the NHL. And it seemed like they took that to heart, honestly. Because they have been moving different since I said they've been moving different. They made some new changes, they made some trades, and they started getting things together, and they started giving the Oilers fans hope, which is something that they're probably not used to at this point. But you know what? They had hope, and they took on the Kings, and it took 7 games, but you know what? Or excuse me, it took 6 games, but you know what? They got the win. Bouchard with 8 in this game, with 8 points for them in the series. McDavid and Dry has 7. Kyle Yamamoto waited for his first goal of the entire series. First goal of the entire series. OT winner, and excuse me, not the OT winner, but the game winner. And Edmonton gets it done 5-4 over the Kings in what was a very high-scoring series. But yes, the Oilers move on to the second round. Maybe this is the year. We finally get to see Dry and McDavid in like a conference final again. Or maybe just even a Stanley Cup. But we'll see, all right? Not going to be very easy, but the Oilers get it done versus the Kings. Let's talk Game 7s, yeah? And let's talk about the Boston Bruins. You know, all the iconic regular season, you know, teams that, you know, broke the wins record or broke whatever the win percentage record, right, throughout the years, you know. The New England Patriots in football, 2007, lost in the Super Bowl nonetheless. The infamous 2016 Golden State Warriors got 3-1 by LeBron. They lost. The Seattle Mariners in 2001 lost to the New York Yankees in the ALCS. Just all of them. All of them. Every single last one has lost. But this Bruins team looked, I guess, different. And after, butchering the league. Butchering the league throughout the entire regular season, obliterating the wins record, you know, obliterating the points record. They were up 3-1. 3-1. I was talking about, you know what, they're probably going to close this out. They were up 3-1 in this series. Instead, it ends on a Werner Hage OT winner Montour tied the game with a minute left. A minute left for the Panthers. And the choke is complete. And fate is secured. And the Boston Bruins are out in the first round to the Florida Panthers. I cannot believe the words that just came out of my mouth. Florida gets it done 4-3 after, again, scoring in the last minute of the game and then winning it in overtime. They were also down in Game 6, by the way, and managed to come back and win that game. It's just bizarre. I mean, but I guess, you know what, the curse of being the best in the regular season continues throughout all of the sports. You know, just do not win. If you want to win, you know, if you want to fulfill your, you want to win the Stanley Cup, you want to win whatever championship it is, do not break the points record. Do not break the wins record. Just don't do it. Do not become the greatest team in the regular season of all time, because you certainly won't be the greatest team in the playoffs of all time. I mean, goodness gracious. What happened to us? What happened? Just embarrassing. All right, this is the most embarrassing series loss since the Lightning lost in the first round after another historically dominant season, and then issued an apology to their fans after losing to the Blue Jackets. I think they got swept or something as well. So just terrible. All right, just terrible. Shout out to the Panthers, though. They went through and they got it done, like I said. They fought. Went down 3-1 against the best team in the league. Didn't faze them. Kept fighting. They move on. That's all there is to it. But that wasn't done, all right? We have one more game, and of course that means one more upset, because the Colorado Avalanche, the defending champions, have also lost in the first round of the NHL Playoffs. I said anything can happen and everything can happen, and anything and everything did in fact happen. Seattle gets it done 2-1 in, I think they won in regulation. Don't quote me. I think they won in regulation. I don't think this was another OT winner. But anyways, Bjorkstrand waited for his first two goals of the series, right? First two goals of the playoffs. He chose Game 7. He shows up when it's big. And they get it done. Colorado had a goal called back. So a little bit of controversy thrown in just a little bit there to spice things up even a little bit more. But yes, the defending champions are gone. The Seattle Kraken get their first ever playoff series win. Just chaos. Just absolute chaos in the NHL playoffs. But you know what? We wouldn't have it any other way. If that was the first round, I mean, prayers up for the second round. Because nobody is safe. Nobody is safe. Succession. Alright? Succession. Okay, they're not serious people. They're just not serious people. I love Kendall, Shiv, and Roman. I really do. I love them as characters. But they are not serious people. Logan was right. They are not serious people. There were very few serious moments as they continue to spiral out of control in this first round. Or at Investor Day, all right? It was just a disaster. It was a disaster, okay? Kendall breaking, just falling apart. The Living Plus idea, which just Theranos, just Theranos vibes. Just, you know what? It sounds good, right? It sounds good. And you know what? I'm surprised he even pulled through with the speech, okay? Because I thought he was going to mess that up. I thought this was going to be a disaster. I was cringing. I was like, no. But somehow they keep falling upwards. I don't understand. Somehow, someway, keep screwing up at every level, but somehow it just works out in the end. It just works out in the end, despite them spiraling. Kendall out of control. He was at his most manic, and now looking like he's going to be at his most depressive. Roman is still mourning his father, his poor soul. He went on a firing spree because he just went drunk with power because he's trying to be like his father, and he's just not his father. It's just bad. Roman just had a bad episode. Tom and Shiv are on. Apparently divorce saved this relationship. Saved their relationship because they've never had so much chemistry in my life. She eventually also probably needs to tell him that she's carrying his child, but you know what? It's working out for them right now. You know what? I'm kind of rooting for Tom and Shiv. They continue to have the maddest, weirdest flirting I have ever seen in my life, but you know what? Tom's wrist is different, so you know what? Credit to him. Madison is still unhinged. What I say about the NHL playoffs just in the last segment? Chaos. Yeah, Succession is in a chaotic state. It's in a chaotic state right now. Turning Logan into AI also was hilarious and very topical. But yeah, Succession, best show on television. What more can I say? Other things I watched this week, because I watched a couple different things. Citadel came out, Priyanka Chopra Jonas, and the King of the North, formerly Richard Madden. It was alright. It was about what you'd expect. So I can see some people not liking it at all because there's, some of the concepts, some of the tropes. But you know what? The action was good. I'll stick with it. We may even start doing a daily, segment on it. But yeah, Citadel, solid for me. Pretty good. Can't complain. Also finished Vikings Valhalla. That was tremendous. A good follow-up to Vikings, a worthy successor. Learning about Harold Handrada, or as he's known in the show, Harold Sigerson, Leif Erikson, Frades, everybody. Very good show. Shout out to Sam and Leo and everybody else. Very good stuff. And yeah, Vikings Valhalla, very good. Recommended for some reason you have not watched it. I'm currently watching Obsession and it's driving me mad. Let's talk music. Strictly for My Fans 2 by G Herbo. I was highly anticipating this album after seeing him hype it up for about 2 months. And honestly, I was disappointed. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I was pretty much disappointed. Even though it was better on second listen, very much so better than the second listen than it was on the first listen. The first listen, I was like, oh dear God. Oh dear God. What of this do I like and what of this do I not? And I had some of that on the second listen with songs I was like, I don't know if I'm feeling this or I don't know if this is any good, but for some reason it's hitting on some level. But yeah, not my favorite Herbo album, not some of his best work. Outside and F-Ops were probably my favorites off the album. I'm going to give it, still nonetheless, I'm going to give it like a 7. I'm going to give it a 7 flat, actually. Yeah. I'm going to be a little bit harsh. I'm going to give it a 7 flat. It's got some good moments, but there's also stuff that I was like, all right, I'm cutting this off. I'm not making it do this entire song, or it's just like he felt like if something was off about the album and it just was not hitting. It wasn't like it was like an awful album. Like there was still some good stuff, but it wasn't hitting. I think a 7, almost really, I was going to give it a little bit higher. I can really say 7. Yeah, I'll stick with 7. Honestly, I'm going to stick with 7 because it fit exactly what I would imagine a 7 to be. So, yeah, somewhat, it's still enjoyable, but, only slightly above average. Very close to mid. And yeah. On the other hand, we had Ray Sherman beat the Washed Allegations 2 weeks ago. This week we had Jack Harlow beat the Washed Allegations as he dropped JACKMAN out of the blue. A much shorter, more condensed, more focused project. And it was a much, 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 much better project. I'm giving it an 8.8. Okay, it was very, very, very good. He did not miss on this album. He went 10 for 10. I think it was 10 tracks. He went 10 good. Okay? Even on Gang Gang Gang, which was a very introspective and a very dark trigger warning song about your friends not being who you thought them to be as you grow up. To put that as lightly as I can possible in this. Still wasn't it. Everything was good. It was more focused. Jack album, him rapping on classical and just very good beats. It was just very good stuff. It was very good stuff. It's his element. It's what he does best. Denver, Ambitious, and No Enhancers were my favorites. It felt like Jack. It felt like a classic Jack album. Maybe it was the green filter on the cover or what it was, but it felt like Jack going back to his roots, and I think he needed that. And again, one of his best projects, in my opinion, JACKMAN. Go listen to it. Harlow is back. Not that he really ever left. He had some good stuff on his past couple projects. Even on Come Home, the Kids Miss You. But this was him at his best. Good stuff from Jack. Shout out to the boy. He gets that done. You know what time it is. It's the main event of the evening. And I am not talking UFC. I am talking about the NBA playoffs. Because boy, oh boy, oh boy. Round 2 has started. But we got to finish up some of these game 1 or round 1s. Boston took out ATL, I think, on Thursday. 128-120. You know, when JT and JB go for their... somebody pull up that statistic for me, all right? When JT and JB both go for 30 or combine for 60 plus, what is the Celtics record? Because I don't really recall them ever really losing when Tatum and Brown are going off the way that they did in the last game of the series, okay? Tatum went 30, 14, and 7. JB had 32. When they do that, they seem to be the best version of themselves, and they can't really be beat. Hawks gave a hell of an attempt. Hell of an attempt. Unfortunately, Trae Young went 9 for 28. Yes, he had 30 and 10, but he went 9 for 28, which means he almost missed about 20 shots, which is not good. It's not winning basketball. Celtics will live with that. They'll live with that 30 and 10 if it's on 9 for 28. They played great defense on him, great defense on DeJounte, got in his head, as we saw even last week. And they finished him off, did a good job, finished the series. DeAndre Hunter had 20, Capella had double and double. And honestly, if you looked at the box score for this Hawks game, you were thinking, how did they not lose? I mean, how did they not win? But, Celtics, like I said, when JB and JT combine like that, deadly team, they get it done, they move on. LA. While the Clippers are still a disappointment, the Los Angeles Lakers are not. I mean, Dylan Brooks. He was clown of the week last week. He's clown of the week this week. All right? Oh, man. Just stop talking. Memphis, just stop talking. I said it throughout the season. I was not surprised. I said this throughout the season. I said I wonder who it's going to be that humiliates and humbles the Memphis Grizzlies this year. I mean, it's a tradition at this point. I mean, it is a yearly tradition. The Grizzlies do great in the regular season, get a top 3 seed, and then just get pumped. Year after year after year. It's a tradition. It is an NBA tradition like Christmas. And of course, it was the Los Angeles Lakers. Dylan Brooks said he is not going to respect you until you put 40 on his head. So instead of just 40 on your head, how about 40 on your entire organization, as you got punked and lost in Game 6 by 40. 125 to 85. Whew. Deloading had 31. Time was now. Ice in his veins. Braun had 22, 5, and 6. But you know what? I got to give the flowers to Anthony Davis. 16, 14, 5 blocks. I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. is the defensive player of the year. But he was not the best defensive, not even the best defensive big man in this series. The best defensive player in this series and the most impactful player in this series, even though it was not the king and the king is the king means. But it was Anthony Davis. It was AD. As much as we rag on AD, as much as we talk about AD, I'm giving AD his flowers. He was the game changer defensively. He shut down Memphis across the board. He was the catalyst. He was the catalyst that made that defense go. So credit where credit is due to the brow. He was the guy. And that's what the Lakers need him to be, the guy. AR-15 as well. Austin Reeves, great job this series. Deloading, like I said, came through in Game 6. Braun was Braun. That's what they need. That's what they need, and they take out the Grizzlies. A better Grizzlies team this year, but you know what? It's the same result. Enjoy Cabo. Enjoy it. Denver, Phoenix, Game 1. I'm not high on this Nuggets team unless MPJ and Jamal Murray show up. I'm super high on this Phoenix Suns team. I've repeatedly said on this podcast, I've said that they should, under pretty much no circumstances barring injury, win the NBA championship this year. And they very well may, but you know what? This Nuggets team made a little bit of a statement in Game 1. They get the win 125 to 107 because Jamal Murray went ballistic. 34, 5, and 9 for Murray. He looked like that guy. This was bubble Jamal Murray. The guy that we've been looking for to appear, he appeared in this game. And they're going to need him to be like this all series long if they want to be the Phoenix Suns. DeAndre Ayton is the weakest of the 4. All right, he is the weak link, even more than CP3, which is saying something, honestly, sometimes here in the playoffs. But Ayton is the weak link. It's true. Now, I get it. Jokic, of course, is one of the greatest centers probably to ever grace this earth. Future Hall of Famer, 2-time, nearly 3-time MVP. He had 24, 19, and 5. DeAndre Ayton cannot get punked to the point where the guy you're playing has 20 and 20. Cannot happen. Cannot happen for the Suns. He's going to have to show up and become a man. He's going to have to grow up in this series. Because if he doesn't, then the Suns are at risk of getting humiliated. Even with Book dropping 27, even with KD having 29 and 14, when Aaron Gordon has 23, when Joker has 20 and 20, and when Jamal Murray is playing like this is going to be a lot closer series and probably a very uncomfortable series for the Phoenix Suns and their fans. Because the Denver Nuggets made a statement in Game 1. We will see if it's a lasting one. Miami takes out the Knicks 108 to 101. The Miami Heat are the greatest eighth seed I've ever seen in my life. I mean, the greatest eighth seed I have ever seen in my life. Now that's in part because Jimmy Butler, once again, as we said last week, is one of the most dangerous men in the world. Okay, John Wick levels in the playoffs. 25-11 in this game, and he had one ankle for the last 5 minutes. Gabe Vincent also, gotta give a shout, give him his flowers. Missed a big shot, reincarnated, 20 points, 5 threes. Great game for Vincent. Kyle Lowry had 18 off the bench. He was also great. 18, 5, and 6 at that. Jalen Brunson, 35. But he went 0 for 7 from game. And really, this was what undid the Knicks. Not only did Brunson go 0 for 7 from 3, but as a whole, they shot 20% from 3. That is not going to win a game in the 21st century. Or, excuse me, at least in the 2020s. It ain't going to happen. You cannot shoot 20% from 3 and expect to win a high-level NBA game. It's just not going to happen, and that's what undid the Knicks. They lose a close one, but still lost game 1. We'll see what happens in game 2, see if they can rebound. But, yeah, Jimmy Buckets, still Jimmy Buckets. We'll see how that ankle is doing. And to end off, we have to end off with the one and only, the chef himself. Golden State closes out Game 7 against the Kings 120-100 because Chef Curry had the pot and he was cooking with one of his greatest performances in his career and one of the greatest performances in playoff history. The most points ever scored in a Game 7 game. The man dropped 50. He dropped 50. He said Jordan Poole has been hot garbage. I mean, it's legalized bank robbing what we are paying him. You know, Clay has been non-existent. It's on me. I'm the man. This is my team. Let me remind y'all who I am. I am Chef Curry. 50. 50. I mean, ridiculous. I mean, it's all I need to say is 50. Also got to give a shout, though, to Kevin Looney. He had 3 20-rebound games in this series. That was huge. He had 11-21, 11 and 21, in Game 7. Just tremendous. Really out-rebounded Sabonis, who had 22, 8, and 7. It wasn't horrible in this game, but the Kings just got out-efforted. And then Curry just went supernova. Can't do anything about that. The beam is closed for the year. And the Warriors move on, where they will be taking on the Los Angeles Lakers as LeBron and Curry play each other yet again in what will be one of the most toxic series in the history of Twitter.com. But you know what? We will enjoy it. Of course, we will talk about it here on the A15 Exchange. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup. And with the Roundup, that brings motorsport. And with motorsport, that brings the return of F1, which was hilariously boring. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Baku, it just was not a good race, okay? Red Bull is just so much better than everybody else. It's not fair. Leclerc had a pole, got podium. It did not matter. I think Max was still 14 seconds faster or something ridiculous. Checo's still king of the streets. He wins at Baku. Max gets second. And Charles gets third. Yuki Tsunoda, gotta give a shout to Yuki though. I mean, he is obliterating Nick. I don't know if Nick's gonna make it to mid-season at this point. He might get replaced in AlphaTauri. Yuki, however, he's killing it. He's got a couple points positions. He got points here again, got 10th. Shout out to Yuki, but yeah, Checo's still king of the streets, and Red Bull is still king of Formula 1. UFC, Yadong, KO Simon. This was not close. I mean, was not close at all. Really could have thrown in the towel in the third round, but you know what? They let him take some years off of his career. And Yadong, KO Simon. UFC 288 is this week. So, Mr. Aljamain Sterling will be taking on Triple C Henry Cejudo for the bantamweight crown. Don't know. I feel like this could go either way. Depends on how Cejudo comes back, how he's looking. Sterling proved that he's a worthy champion last time around. So we're going to see. We're going to see. I'm not going to really make a prediction. I feel like it's pretty 50-50. It all just kind of depends on how much ring rust or octagon rust that Cejudo has. Is he still that same guy? Because I can see him beating Sterling. But if Sterling has truly leveled up, he should be able to beat Cejudo. Either way, it's going to be interesting. Bilal versus Burns is going to be really, really interesting. Can Gilbert Burns keep the momentum up? Can Bilal truly affirm his spot as, arguably the number 1 contender at welterweight? Going to be interesting. But yeah, UFC 288, we'll talk about it next week. We'll see what happens there. And the U.S. Men's Open, trying to figure out who's going to Final X in wrestling, appeared over the weekend. Gable Steveson, of course, was the headliner. He returned, and he took out everybody. Mason Parris, who just won the Hodge. Gwiz, he took them all out. All right, Gable Steveson was once again the best wrestler on the planet. He's going at 125 or heavyweights. Jaden Cox will be taking on Kyle Snyder once again. That should be fun. Mike Macavella, NC State grad. He got it done at 92 kgs. Aaron Brooks, check out Zahid. Big shot there, but then again, Aaron Brooks just might be that guy. So yeah, credit where credit's due. Penn State guy, credit where credit's due. I didn't think he was going to beat Zahid again, but I didn't think he was going to beat Zahid for the first time, should I say. But he did. He got it done. He came from behind. Shout out to Aaron Brooks. He's going out. Chance Marsteller at 79 kgs. Jason Nolf at 74. I believe he took out Vincenzo Joseph. Tyler Berger at 70. Nick Lee at 65. I think Nick Lee actually might have took out Chinzo. But anyways, Vito continues to stay hot. He's going at 61. And Zane Richards takes out Nick Sirianni at 57 kgs to advance the final X. Going to be interesting. Of course, you'll have the Magic Man there, Snyder, and so on and so forth. Jordan Burroughs. Going to be very interesting. We'll talk about that when it comes. But yeah, for now, that is it. Episode 143 in the books. See you next week for more chaos, because it was a very chaotic week last week. Another week closer to me graduating. And yeah, just shout out to all my graduates this week or next week ahead of time. But for now, Ocho, signing off.